He was well doing it right, eh? That's just selecting every fucking song in this playlist. What a start of the show. It's time to go. You know, be my father. We were poorer than poor. Well, hello and welcome into this Tuesday's movie news. I am Jonathan C. Walsh, here to discuss the latest news from the world of Hollywood. Movie news, to be more specific, with an incredibly zoomed in camera, it seems to me. Wearing glasses as well, which I don't really need, so I'm going to take them off. But now I've got fucking marks on my nose. The joys of being a specky git, as we like to call it over here. But look, I'm here to discuss movie news. I'm here to discuss everyone's favourite bald, round-headed director. He is bald. He's just in denial. And I know he's bald because I went through the same journey, Ryan. And at some point you'll have to just accept it, let go of it. It's fine. But look, that aside, brilliant director. Brilliant independent director who of course caused a lot of controversy. I want to say 5 years ago. I know 5 years ago because there's an article in this actual show I'm going to discuss as an aside to the headline. With The Last Jedi, some controversy, it would be fair to say, split an entire fandom down the middle. And of course I'm talking about Rian Johnson. If that little round-headed remark went over your head, whoosh, then you now know, I should say, who I'm talking about. Rian Johnson of The Last Jedi fame has confirmed that he still wants his Star Wars trilogy. Now this is something we've been discussing on and off on this channel for about 4.5 years now. Should he get the trilogy, or will he get the trilogy? Has Kathleen Kennedy forgotten about Ryan? Has Disney conveniently swept Ryan into some broom cupboard, much like Harry Potter in the Philosopher's Stone, hid him, locked him in that broom cupboard and told him, no, you will not go to Hogwarts, no, you will not get a Star Wars trilogy? That was the discussion we were having on and off for the last half decade. And I just came to the conclusion after like 3.5 years of discussing over the last year or so. Personally, I didn't think it would happen. I thought they'd shelved it. It was done and dusted. He'd moved on to bigger and better things. Because let's be honest, Star Wars as a movie, cinematic experience for me is much lessened after Disney got their grubby mitts on it. After they gave us a sequel trilogy, it's a much lesser commodity, a much lesser brand than it was 10 years ago. And when you're making $200 million whodunit movies for Netflix, I actually think that's an improvement on Star Wars just now, where Star Wars is. I don't think Taika Waititi can save Star Wars as a movie experience just now. I would leave the movies with Star Wars for at least another decade. Just focus on TV. That's my personal opinion. But it's you would think when he's making those movies for Netflix, of course the Knives Out franchise, great independent director, that's where his heart is. Making his own stories within his own world, with no rules, no sort of expectations on his shoulders. That's where Ryan produces his best work. It's proven time and again over his career. That's when the best is revealed from him. When he's put under pressure, and even if he's not setting this new trilogy in another sort of familiar setting, if you like, not within the Skywalker saga, even if he goes off and creates whole new worlds, whole new characters in a different timeline, the very fact he is linked to The Last Jedi will besmirk his name. He will have half the Star Wars fandom willing him to fail. So for me, I felt that the trilogy was done. It had no chance. It was blown out the water many years ago. And the lack of news, the lack of discussion, he'd come out every now and again, Ryan, and say, yeah, it's still happening. It's still in the background. There's work being done on it. But no one really took him serious. I didn't take him serious. But we're now 5 years out. He's been out speaking about The Last Jedi, and he doesn't regret it. He almost loves it more. I'll get into that in a few moments, incidentally. This article here, he actually defends the movie. Says he's even prouder now, 5 years on. The fact he's been out discussing, he still has this desire to make this trilogy. And the fact we're in a bit of a hiatus for movies, it's making me think, for Star Wars of course, it's making me think that maybe, just maybe, we will get a fucking trilogy from Ryan, after all. And it's conflicting me, I'm not going to lie. But look, it's coming in from Empire, it's all over the internet, he's been out speaking. He had this to say, speaking of Kathleen Kennedy, I stayed close to Kathleen, and we get together often and talk about it. This is speaking to Empire, who are breaking this as an exclusive, but as I says, on multiple publications. He goes on to say, it's just at this point a matter of schedule, and when it can happen. It would break my heart if I were finished, if I couldn't get back into that sandbox at some point. Right now, as they do say, he's working on Knives Out, Glass Onion, a Knives Out story. As you can see, that's young man there, Benoit Blanc. He's a busy man. And yeah, he's speaking about The Last Jedi. I'm going to get into The Last Jedi in a moment. He has been out speaking about that movie and how he's even prouder now. There's the intro again. Wow. It would break his heart. Well, it would break my heart, Ryan, to be perfectly honest, if you were to do the trilogy. For the aforementioned reasons, before I actually read the quote out, there is half the fandom already against you. They will not want you to succeed. You've already got a small sliver of hardcore Star Wars fans in the movie-going demographic. The type who will go and watch a movie a dozen times in the first week and a half of its release. They're already niche, or whatever the fuck they call it over in America. I'm sure it'll be some other pronunciation. And as I like to try and broadcast to everywhere, I try to do the pronunciations fairly neutral, but I can't. That's the facts, I just can't. The demographic is very small indeed for hardcore fandom. When you've pissed off 50% of that fandom, you are really cutting down your movie's box office potential in those crucial first couple of weeks. You then, and I'm going to get into this as well in the next topic, the Snyder Cut, Warner Brothers regretting the Snyder Cut, the sort of toxicity that's prevalent in modern day society that seems to be attaching itself to all things pop cultural, but movies is a sort of primary conduit, seem to be acting as this magnet for these toxic individuals. Do you really want to be stirring up that hornet's nest again and reopening all those old wounds when we seem to have got to a place where the fandom's semi-healed? We're all enjoying The Mandalorian, we're all getting something out of the TV shows. You can hate on certain aspects of Obi-Wan if you're of that mindset. I fucking loved it personally, but we're in a much more healthier place. Do we really want to be bringing back Rian with a trilogy that's not really necessary, opening up all those wounds? It's going to fail financially, realistically, unless it's something truly special. I think it's a bad idea. It would break my heart if he was to get a trilogy. I think we should move off, fresh ideas, fresh timeline, not with Rian Johnson, new up and coming directors. Spandan Patnick has said this: I'm 24, I've never watched a Star Wars movie. It's kinda crazy. At this point I talk about it as one of those things you missed. Not even the original series. Well, the original trilogy is fantastic, it has to be said. Some of the best movies ever made. For me, Empire Strikes Back is the greatest. Other people disagree. Stephen, fellow movie burner, thinks it's A New Hope. Some people love Return of the Jedi, but the trilogy from 1977 to the mid-80s is by far the best connected to Star Wars. If you were to watch anything, I would urge you to watch those three. The rest are really, you can discard them, you don't really need them. They get progressively worse as the years go by, as the incarnations tick by. Prequels have moments, but in all honesty, not great. And the sequel trilogy is just a fucking train wreck of a trilogy. A shambles. Ditch it. Never ever put yourself through that, ever. Let me take this thing off here for my hand strain, because it's, to be quite frank, rubbing my hand up the wrong way and actually making it worse. Hello, Pav. Welcome in. Gangs of Wazipoor reaction 2. I'm in the process of re-editing that. I was actually editing that before I came on here, because it get blocked. Initially they says it was a partial block. Turns out it wasn't a partial block, it was an entire global block. There must be one territory on planet Earth, terra firma, that had that movie and was out, they were allowed to watch the reaction. I don't know where the fuck it was. We checked the list of countries, it seemed to be every country on the planet. So that will hopefully be coming out. If, like the first one, I can rejig the edit in such a way where YouTube and those two companies that were claiming it deem it, yeah, acceptable and allow it to pass copyright. But yeah, Ryan's a divisive figure. I love him personally as a director. I think he is great. And looking back in hindsight at the sequel trilogy, his movie's not the worst. It's actually probably the best movie of the three. And that's damning it with faint praise, or damning it with faint praise. It's kind of like the best dressed man in Kazakhstan analogy again. It's good, but in the sense of shite, they're all shit, but it's the less shit, if you get what I mean. I'm doing a butchered attempt to explain myself here. For me, they're all shit, but his is the less shit of the three in the sequel trilogy. But he's a great director, away from Star Wars, where he's not winding up half the fandom, when he's not proven to be a divisive figure who's going to ruin box office potential. Star Wars as a movie and sort of franchise is already on a sugary peg just now. We can't be ruining its return by using Rian Johnson. I know it's going to be Taika Waititi's movie, it's coming out first, then Patty Jenkins, who's again a bit dodgy just now, but we can't even risk bringing Rian back for me. But look, I'm not the guy in charge. That's Kathleen Kennedy, that's Lucasfilm, it's Disney. And he's been keeping in contact with her, and we know that if there's one thing Kathleen loves to do, it is to do the complete opposite of what the fandom wants. So no doubt he will have his trilogy. It will be announced very shortly, as a fuck you to the Star Wars fan base. And then we'll have all this toxicity. He'll be calling people man babies on Twitter again. The left will be down the right's throat, the right will be down the left's throat politically, using this as a sort of fucking puppet for all their madness. And the movies will ultimately be beige. And I don't want that personally. But look, he's been out speaking about another beige movie, The Last Jedi, and this is what he had to say about it. That I'm even more proud of it 5 years on. It's the 5-year anniversary coming up for its release. He says, when I was up at bat, I really swung at the ball. That's a shit baseball analogy. Doesn't make much sense to me, I don't really care. He swung at the ball, but again, this is a guy, you have to remember, who has said in the past he would rather have 50% of the audience hate his movie, 50% absolutely adore it, than have everyone just merely like it. So he goes into movie making processes looking to make it something, a piece of art that it inspires a Marmite reaction, it inspires emotion out of the actual audience, for good or for bad. Again, another sort of black mark against a potential trilogy. I don't feel that's an appropriate filmmaker for a huge blockbuster franchise. You need someone who's very, very good at what they're doing, like Rian, but doesn't harbour those kind of views, aspirations from a movie. You need someone who's going to try and make everybody happy. And I think that's where Marvel succeed in the main. Really talented filmmakers involved, but uncontroversial. They will, in the main, follow the guidance of Kevin Feige with their own little spins on it and give us movies that fucking 90-year-olds like and 2-year-olds like in equal measure. Man, editing movie reaction for YouTube must be a nightmare. You deserve more appreciation. It is fucking hellish. Because it's obviously multiple companies involved in the production, movie companies, production companies, filming companies, studios, and they all have a sort of vested interest. They all own a part of the movie. So when you go to upload it, they're all at piranhas. They want to claim it, absolutely fine. We don't even want to make money off it. It's a 10-year-old movie. We're only doing it because people have asked us. And we're interested to see what Manos, Pishpaye, Nawazuddin Siddiqui, Pankaj Tripathi, what they were doing 10 years ago. That's the main reason behind it. We're not trying to make money out of it. And in fact, when I upload them, we don't even copyright it. We don't even monetize it. We just try and get it out. But it still gets claimed. And it's a pain in the arse. And then we split the movie into 5 parts. 25, 30 minute long recordings, 30 odd minutes. Try and cut it down to about 20 to circumvent the copyright. And it still gets fucking blocked. It's like, what the fuck? The movie's available for free on YouTube, albeit without subtitles. So yeah, it's an absolute ball breaker, bruv. And then just the time, it takes a long time. It really does. It takes 25 minutes, 30 minute video. It's taking you about 45, 50 minutes minimum to edit that. Sometimes more, an hour and a half. Some of the episodes of Sacred Games are taking 2 hours to edit. It's a long fucking edit. People think it's very easy. They think small reactions, easy to edit. Long reactions, very, very fucking difficult. Pain in the arse to edit. But Ryan continued, he had this to say, I think he's speaking about The Last Jedi again, just his experience with it. He said this, I think it's impossible for any of us to approach Star Wars without thinking about it as a myth that we were raised with, and how that myth, that story, baked itself into us and affected us. The ultimate intent was not to strip away, the intent was to get to the basic fundamental power of myth, and ultimately I hope the film is an affirmation of the power of the myth of Star Wars in our lives. You see, again, that's him coming at Star Wars as a franchise from his unique independent thinking mind. As an indie filmmaker, he's trying to do really deep stuff with the actual story, with the mythology, and there's elements of it that works, but again, there's people out there who are not receptive to this. And when you start using the original trilogy characters, you've got 40 years of legacy, people shaping their lives through these characters, through the performances of the actors, and if they don't deem it to be in alignment with what they wanted, specifically how they seen these characters being 30 years in the future, 20 years in the future, you're going to get blowback. To then do some of the things he did with the likes of fucking General, I can't remember her name, fucking Admiral Holdo or whatever her name was. There was some dodgy moments. You're bringing in the whole Canto Bite stuff that was just a tangent, unnecessary tangent that went nowhere. I don't know, man. It's a slippery slope, Brian. I can understand what you were trying, mate, but for me it didn't work. Still get the best moments in the sequel trilogy, The Last Jedi. The actual hold-on manoeuvre was stunning in the theatres. The stuff on Crate with Luke teleporting there, projecting himself, incredible. John Williams' score, The Spark, I think it was. Luke's interactions with Leia, with 3PO, fucking epic moments, has to be said. But in the main, the movie didn't work. It was too divisive. It was deliberately made to be a Marmite movie, which is not something you do with Star Wars. And again, I'm tying this into the headline. That's why you can't be allowed to make a trilogy. You can't have a divisive director coming in with these kind of views with a huge multi-demographic franchise and making a trilogy. It's just going to fail. It will be doomed to fail. It's not down to Rian. It's not down to Star Wars fandom. It's not down to Kathleen Kennedy. It's just facts. You need to have the right kind of director, and Rian isn't the right fit for Star Wars. He's a big Star Wars fan, not the right fit. He finishes it by saying this on The Last Jedi. This is when I'm finishing on this topic as well, incidentally. The final images of the movie, to me, are not deconstructing the myth of Luke Skywalker. They're building it, and they're him embracing it. They're him absolutely defying the notion of throw away the past and embracing what actually matters about his myth and what's going to inspire the next generation. So for me, the process of stripping away is always in the interest of getting to something essential that really matters. Again though, it's Luke Skywalker, mate. Carrie Fisher had died at this point, sadly, tragically. You were getting into the finale of a trilogy. You had an actor who was alive, wanted to play the character, could have just have kept him alive, just as simple as not fading him out. Instead, you decide to kill him off and continue the dead character that couldn't be continued, couldn't perform it into the final movie of the trilogy. It's just small decision making that makes or breaks a movie. If Luke comes out that movie and he's done that huge feat of force, sort of wonder, I don't know what adjective to use, sort of force ability, teleporting himself across the galaxy and making a fool of his nephew, full of hatred and bitterness. If he survives after that, then you're thinking, what a fucking end. That can almost save the movie. Rogue One is a Star Wars movie, not the absolute greatest creation ever, but it's saved by the last 15 minutes almost. There's really emotional, brilliant moments in Rogue One. I think it's the best movie Disney have released, but it's saved by Darth Vader's entrance into that movie at the end. That makes the entire movie. You go out euphoric. It could have been the same for The Last Jedi. People would have overlooked some of the issues if there was just some slightly different things in there. And tying back once again to the trilogy thing, Rian is always anchored to his vision, to his sort of journey he wants to go on in the movie, the message he's trying to portray, in this case the message of mythology and myths of Luke, of Star Wars. He just couldn't remove himself from that. He couldn't change one little thing and keep Luke alive. He had to kill him off to give us his ultimate vision for the movie, the story he was trying to portray. That's why you can't make a trilogy. If I'm playing devil's advocate, final thing I'll say is, if he is making a trilogy, it still has the potential to be fucking great. It will not make money because half the fandom hate him. But if he's creating his own stories in his own world with his own characters in a different timeline, I think he's a good enough director to give us something special. But it's doomed to fail because he's just too divisive. So I don't want the trilogy. I want Star Wars to succeed. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. It's in a sugary peg just now in terms of movies. They're more hit misses than hits, Disney. We need to get off to a strong start when they come back into movie theatres. And I think that's better without Rian Johnson's trilogy. But look, man, what's your thoughts? You can comment down below if you've got anything to say about Star Wars, the future of it. Rian Johnson, should he have a trilogy? Will he have a trilogy? Share your thoughts down below in the comment section if you've got anything to say about it. I'm moving on to the next topic. Speaking about divisive figures stoking up toxicity in fandoms, movie fandoms, on social media. Zack Snyder, Warner Brothers, Justice League, Joss Whedon, the Snyder Cut. It was released to great fanfare. apparently done well. But an insider from the studio, Warner Brothers, has come out and said that they regret the decision to release Snyder's version of the Justice League on HBO Max. And I think it was a black and white version went out in IMAX. They regret it. And this is the reason why. And I'm going to tie this into a video I watched with John Campea, speaking about Power of the Ring, Lord of the Rings, and the sort of mentality that seems to pervade, is that the right word? I don't know, social media these days. The toxicity that is ever present within social media, and how that can be almost used as ammunition to make or break movies, to make or break entire studios, sort of strong arm them into doing things that they want to be done. This is what he says. As you can see here, it's coming in from MovieWeb, and it's via an article on Variety, if you'd like, if I can speak. It was thought that giving Snyder fans a Snyder cut would satisfy fans and assuage them. Is that how you say it? Assuage? I don't know how you say that word. That's one of those rare words that I don't come up against that often reading, and I've never really heard it pronounced. It's like hyperbole. You read it once, you think, how the fuck's that pronounced? You search it up. Some people have famously said hyperbole, and I've howled with laughter at them. It's hyperbole. Assuage? Assuage? I don't know how to pronounce that word, but anyway, it's in there. That's a very rare word in the English language that's befuddled me. There's not many. Assuage? I don't know. Doesn't matter, moving on. The constant online campaigning. Instead, it seems the opposite has happened, with this section of the fan base becoming more entrenched. This is just modern day society. Us and them, little kids, my ball, fighting over it, can't speak to anybody, fucking heads buried in mobile phones and cell phones and fucking iPads, buried, can't make eye contact with another human being, living in La La Land online, chatting shit. And it's just fucking invading every section of life, politics, the arts, everywhere. And it's pathetic. But look, this is what they had to say, this insider. Privately, studio insiders have lamented that Zack Snyder's Justice League never should have happened. Rather than quiet the unceasing online campaigning to #release the Snyder Cut, the 4-hour HBO Max feature only further entrenched the vocal and extremely online Snyderverse fanbase in opposition to the leadership at the studio in general and at DC in particular. This is something we've seen called out. I think there was actually a writer from one of the big Hollywood publications done a sort of hit piece on the Snyderverse, on the Snyder fandom. I don't know what the fuck you call them. This movement on social media, and how Zack himself was maybe guilty of enabling them at times to go after people. And it was a bit of a hit piece, if you'd like, and it had people questioning how much of a sway Zack actually had on this toxicity within social media. Once again, we've got this raising its ugly head with this insider from Warner Brothers saying they regret releasing this cut because it's just enabled this toxicity, this venomness, I can never say that word either. Venomous, I can't say it, doesn't matter, move on. Well, we'll actually read the Noob Gamer's comment so I can actually clear the palate. It's a word I can never fucking say, that's another one. I know how to say it, but I just can't say it. Have you watched Ye Jawani Hai Dewini? I can actually Diwani, I can read that, but I can't say venomous. I can never fucking say that word. Breaks my brain. I have not watched that. I don't know what it is, man. I will Google it, because we're always looking for more content to watch, review, watch along to. It's enabled more viciousness online, if you like, this movement. But it's not just Zack Snyder, it's not just the Snyder Cut. It's something we're seeing with the likes of the Power of the Rings as well, which is about to come out tomorrow, I believe, or 2 days from now, Thursday actually. We're seeing people attacking this movement. I was watching Angry Joe, who's another great reviewer, reactioner, if you like, on YouTube, and he done a video clarifying the whole nonsense over She-Hulk. He liked She-Hulk. He gave it a 7 out of 10 the first couple of episodes, and he had people attacking him, saying he was a sellout, he'd been bought by Disney, he was this and he was that, going after the guy, going after the channel. It's pathetic. Why, in the 21st century, have we got adults, and this is adults, this isn't kids, attacking other adults for enjoying something they dislike? Why can't we just have a society where some people like something and other people don't like it, and they just move on in their separate ways and leave it at that? Why do we always have these fucking idiots on social media, on YouTube, in the world in general, trying to force their will, their opinion onto other people, it's almost like a cult, recruit them to the cult? Why is it something that's present in politics, it's present in the arts in 2022? I can't get my head around it. I blame Donald Trump for it in some strange way, because his sort of dumbed down catchphrase politics bred and enabled these idiots, these half-wits as I like to call them, to just circumvent facts, circumvent reality if it doesn't suit their agenda, and keep ploughing on with that agenda. And it saddens me, because I'm looking forward to The Lord of the Rings, The Power of the Ring, personally, and I find it pathetic that I'm having arguments with people on my own comments, on my own channel on YouTube, over the casting of black actors in a TV show in 2022, because they don't deem it acceptable, they don't think it's lore authentic for Tolkien. It saddens me we're still having these conversations. It saddens me we've got this hatred in the world from these little basement dwelling weirdos, these incels and people like that out there, the alt-right, your Ben Shapiro's, hateful little bastards, speaking about scenes in She-Hulk that are completely out of context and make no fucking sense, attacking TV shows before they're even out, attacking Indiana Jones 5 when it's a week into production, and then of course attacking studios like Warner Brothers, who have got their faults and have made mistakes, when they actually appease them and release a 4-hour version of the fucking movie. It's just a strange setup, and all it's going to do is further entrench the other side of the argument and their beliefs, and they're just not going to bother releasing movies like this in the future. They'll not even give the chance for director's cuts. We'll not see David Ayer's Suicide Squad ever. They don't want to enable these people, they don't want to give them their cake and they get to eat it. It's pathetic, and I absolutely fucking agree with Campea. You should go over and watch John Campea's video about The Power of the Rings. People want it to fail. It's a great 10-minute rant from John. He does it much better than me, where they're losing their fucking minds. He deconstructs it perfectly. I seen this article, I connected it with John's. I watched Angry Joe's video just this morning, and it all seemed to connect. I'm like, I have to speak about it. Modern day society, fucking clown shoes. But I'm going to move on. You can discuss that as well if you've got anything to comment about toxicity and movie fandoms in the world in general in 2022. Share your thoughts down below in the comment section. Maybe you're one of these people who's attacking Warner Brothers for releasing a 4-hour version of a movie you wanted to see and you're still not happy. Maybe you're the kind of person that's wanting a TV show to fail because there's black actors being cast as elves. Shock horror. A female dwarf. Terrible. Maybe you can comment down below and share your rationale behind that, if there is a rationale behind that, because I personally can't see any. I find it to be backwards in every sense of the phrase. The Noob Gamer says you must watch it and upload your reaction. Well, we'll have a look, man. I've got the comments here. I'll select it and I'll paste it into Google and we'll have a little gander. That's a look. I think it's a Scottish word, although I'm not entirely sure. But we'll have a look at it, mate. We're always open to suggestions. We're currently doing Gangs of Wasseypur though. We're going to be doing Gangs of Wasseypur 2. We're going to be doing Mirzapur Season 3. We're going to be doing, realistically, Vikram when it becomes available. And then we're going into Family Man Season 3 as well. So there's a lot to get through over the next couple of months. So I can't imagine us doing much more on top of that this side of 2023. So 2022, 2023, the new year, if you like. But we'll see, we'll have a look, man. But look, this next topic, should we be worried about the box office again? It's an article coming in from Screen Rant, and they're discussing that. I'm going to bring it up. Should we be worried about the box office again? I think we should. There was a press release from Cineworld last week. A sort of parent company, an actual cinema chain over here, I think, and in Europe as well. But the parent company of Regal Cinemas, I believe, I think it's Regal Cinemas in the States. They confirmed that they are going to be looking at, I think, countermeasures to avoid bankruptcy. They may even file bankruptcy before this year's out. This is a huge cinema company, theatre chain, gigantic. They own one of the biggest, if not the tallest, theatre in Europe, which is in the middle of my city, Glasgow. Monstrous company, owns IMAX. They could be getting out of the game because of the ripple effects of COVID and because of a really quiet period in new releases between obviously the summer and then getting into the end of this year where I think Avatar and stuff like that coming out. So I think they should be worried, but look, we'll get into this. This is an opinion piece, I believe, so I don't know where to start off. I didn't actually read this article, I'm not going to lie. But I mean, I'm saying a quiet fucking period, but Top Gun Maverick's made like $1.6 billion, so I mean, that's making money. But sadly, it's not all going to Cineworld, it's going to multiple theatre chains. I say sadly, I don't want to see other theatre chains getting out the game either, so that's a strange comment to make. But as you can see here, after an impressive revival of theatres in early summer 2022, the disappointing performance of new movies in August could mean a bigger box office problem is still at hand. The summer season is known for being a highly profitable time for movie theatres, with the time between Memorial Day weekend in May and Labour Day weekend in September being key for blockbuster releases. While May through July saw a massive revival of theatres that hadn't been seen since 2019, the August 2022 box office failed to continue this trend, with its biggest moment being Top Gun Maverick breaking Avengers Infinity War's domestic total. As you can see here, blah 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 blah, I'm not going to read this, I don't really care. What yet the bit where they actually talk about the slump and the potential danger that's coming, I think it's going to be this bit of the article. August 2022, however, has seen a notable box office slump that reflects the pre-Top Gun 2 resurgence. Considering August is usually a successful month for films in theatres, it's surprising that so few have been releasing during this time, or released during this time. We've been discussing this. We're a movie channel. We like speaking about movies, we like reacting to movies, we like reviewing movies. And there's been a real lull for a good month and a half, 2 months now. It's been fucking quiet. Really quiet. So this doesn't surprise me, that you've got Cineworld potentially filing for bankruptcy, that the box office is lulled, it's in a slump. Doesn't surprise me at all. It has been really quiet, strangely. We are going to get big releases coming out, but I don't know if it's enough. I really don't. We've got Black Panther Wakanda Forever coming out, and we've got Avatar, which should, if it's even remotely good, be a fucking massive boost at the box office for some of these theatre chains. But as you can see here, the major releases this month were Bullet Train, 3,000 Years of Longing, Beast, Bodies, 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 and The Invitation, only one of which has passed 100 million at the box office. Bullet Train, man's probably the best of those, and to be fair, that's always going to be a sort of independent, smaller performing movie. It's David Leitch, it's got a big cast, but the concept, it's very kind of Guy Ritchie, Z-list Guy Ritchie, and that's not a put down. I love David Leitch, I love Brad Pitt, Adam Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, all the people that are involved in that movie are brilliant. But Guy Ritchie's fucking Guy Ritchie. He doesn't release a movie all the time, and when he does, he's got to the stage where he's a bit of an event sort of movie maker. You go and watch the likes of A Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. You go and watch, what was the last one? I'm blanking on it. It's shocking. I was just seen it the other day. Jesus Christ, The Gentleman. You go and see movies like this. The last one he released as well was fucking brilliant. I was howling at that. He's the kind of guy that will make more than maybe 100 million at the box office with those kind of movies. Leitch still building his name as a director, maybe not quite there, so that's not a surprise. The rest, to be honest with you, Beast, I think that's maybe is that Idris Elba? I think it's an Idris Elba movie. I think it's like a tiger or something, shit like that they're hunting. It's quiet, man, it is quiet. And as you can see, top it off, the final weekend of the month marked a historically low weekend at the box office that reflected similar domestic numbers in August 2020 and 2021, both of which were heavily impacted by the pandemic, of course. I think the reason it's going to be a worry, in the sense for everyone involved in that industry, the theatre industry, maybe the movie industry in general, too, is the fact that we are about to hit some hard fucking times. The war in Ukraine, the whole energy crisis, cost of living crisis, it's something that's feeling, that people are going to feel the effects of this worldwide. In Southeast Asia, in Asia, in India, I know India's in Asia, Europe, North America, South America, everywhere is going to be impacted by this cost of living crisis. There's going to be fucking financial recessions. It's just a fact. And the less money people have got, disposable income, the less inclined they're going to be to go and watch a movie in the theatres. That's going to impact the box office. And then you've got one of many other fucking ripple effects in there. China picking and choosing what big releases they want out in their theatres. That's a huge industry, second biggest movie industry on the planet. They're very picky. They will find fault in a movie, like splitting a fucking hair, and you will lose hundreds of millions of dollars sort of internationally off your box office cume. Russia are out the game. They're not going to watch any Hollywood movies because of, obviously, restrictions. The measures have been put in place to try and talk Vladimir around from his insanity. So there's multiple reasons here, and they're starting to build up. The slump in the releases, cost of living crisis, recessions, there's a fucking war in Europe. China's very picky about releases being shown in their theatres. That uncertainty is going to definitely impact on box office, and it's worrying fucking times, man. I feel for the thousands of people who are employed in that industry. I feel for Cineworld as a company. It's a great movie theatre company. Some of the best theatre experiences going are owned by that company. IMAX, the super screens, big comfy fucking seats, the 4D experience. If we lose Cineworld as a company and it's not bought up and rebranded, that's a gargantuan loss for the movie going experience. And this may actually topple them, this sort of lull, and all the reasons I've mentioned. So I think we should be worried about the box office. There's only so much these companies can take after a pandemic. Try to get right back on their feet again. It's not really worked out. Hopefully James Cameron can fucking save the day in December with Avatar, The Way of Water. I'll be going to watch it if I've got the money, and I think I will. It's my busiest time of the year. I think I'll be fine. But wait, man, what's your thoughts on the box office? If you get anything to say about the box office, are you agreeing with Screen Rant that perhaps we should be worried? We could see companies going under here. Would you miss Cineworld? Is that something that's available in your region? What cinema companies, theatre companies are maybe available in India, for instance? What's the big chain theatre company in India? Is it maybe a sort of subsidiary of a Cineworld? Will that impact the movie going experience over there? I'm just intrigued. What's the sort of economic situation in India if there's people from that part of the world in watching? Do you think that's going to impact on big Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, the full shebang releases over on the subcontinent? Share your thoughts down below if you've got anything to say about that down below in the comment section. I'm going to move on to the next topic, the final topic maybe. Yeah, maybe the final topic. To discuss this, there's really, it's much ado about nothing, that topic right there. I'll briefly touch on this and then I'll get into Ewan. I mean, the Ewan topic, I've discussed this before, but you've got to fill the show out with something. You can't just end after fucking, I mean, it's 40 minutes I've been going, to be fair, which is fucking extraordinary. Basically, John Boyega, that is, this is his comments initially about have no interest in joining the MCU in any form. He said, hell no, I'm the one that brought this to the freaking forefront. I don't know what the fuck he means by that. I don't even know if this is the same goddamn quote I'm looking for here. We'll bring it up. Instead of looking over there, we'll bring it up and have a look. That's better. I can actually see it. I've not got moonlight in front of me shielding the quotes from Nye's eyes. This is what he had to say initially. I believe it was at the end of 2021. There was rumours circling that he could be involved, potentially as Nova, who is a guy who seems to get superhuman abilities or super soldier abilities from a helmet. And he's part of Nova Corps. And he's a very interesting character. And this is what I had to say about that. Maybe not just specifically about Nova, but about the actual chances of joining the MCU in some form. He had this to say: that's not the vision for me now. I want to do nuanced things. I want to donate my services to original indie films that come with new fresh ideas, because I know it's real hard to top Iron Man in that universe. This was just his fucking agent speaking about what his goals are moving forward. So that was his comments, I want to say, about a year ago. We've moved on. It's Josh Horowitz, I think, of Collider, perhaps. He was interviewing John. He was asking him, obviously, about this and that. Daisy Ridley crashes in. Maybe not crashes in, she'd pre-recorded something with Josh. She asked John a question, and the question in general is basically, can you tell and look into Josh's eyes and tell him with a straight face that you haven't secretly attained or got a role in the MCU? And he also is laughing it off. It was a bit weird, man, the vibes. He says he hasn't got it. He then goes on to say Daisy's maybe double bluffing. It's actually her that's got a role, potentially Spider-Woman in the MCU. That was heavily rumoured. And she's maybe trying to shield her own casting in the MCU by going after John and saying, look, reveal it, I know you're in the MCU. It was a bit weird though, the vibe. He says at the end, look, if anyone was going to know, if I was going to tell anybody first, it would be Daisy. She's asking him this question. It's a bit coy, it's tongue-in-cheek, he's laughing it off. It reminded me of Jake Gyllenhaal trying to convince the world that he wasn't in the MCU. So it got me thinking, is he telling a white lie? A little white lie, as I says there. And that reminded me of Yoko Ono. You don't have to tell a white lie. I can't remember, I think it was I'm Moving On from Double Fantasy. I never listened to Yoko's side of Double Fantasy. I was more a John Lennon man. Instruments were brilliant on the songs, but I'm not a huge fan of Yoko's singing technique, so I never paid much attention to that. I'm going off on a tangent here, but Stephen, he shared that with me. He used to have a little laugh at the little white lie thing, because it's something you don't hear in a song very often. That's very Yoko. So I pondered the question, has John Boyega been telling some little white MCU lies? He's adamant he's not going to go in at the MCU. He wants to do nuanced things. He wants to fulfil the independent side of himself, work with the best talent, maybe do a Robert Pattinson before going off and doing a more mainstream interconnected universe kind of superhero thing. And that's admirable, because of course he has worked on Star Wars and played a character in a huge franchise. He's been burnt. This guy should have been a Jedi in the sequel trilogy. He was a more compelling character than perhaps Rey. This is a character who defects from the First Order, from the brainwash and the cult of the Empire, the sort of bastard birth child of the Empire. He steps away from that, he gets out, he frees himself, becomes a Jedi. How good would that story have been? More importantly, he'd have been, realistically, I think, only the second Black Jedi in the history of Star Wars, if I'm not wrong. I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. That's a pretty potent, powerful fucking thematic, a message to give to communities around the world. And to give him a chance to get his teeth into that kind of role would have been special. Sadly, his role got diluted. He became a bit part character. He was tagged on, he was a joke. So I understand John's reluctance to throw himself into another big franchise, albeit I think the MCU is a little bit better than Star Wars has been under Disney. I think it's a bit more coherent. They know what they're fucking doing over there. And if they cast him in a role, you know they're going to treat it with respect. He's going to get the chance to do something special. Is he telling the truth with that initial sort of rebuttal when he says, I want to do more nuanced things? Daisy Ridley coming in the middle of that interview and asking him that question, it felt weird to me, it felt odd. And we know that they can keep things under wraps over at Marvel. We've seen it before. They can keep secrets. So I would love to see John in the MCU. I'm not going to lie, I respect him hugely as an individual. I love the fact he stands up and lets his voice be known. He uses his platform, his fame, to really empower and make other people's lives hopefully better. I respect him as an actor. I think he's fucking great. I've watched him in multiple movies now, not just Star Wars but drama driven movies, and I'd love to see him playing a character like Nova. Now you'll have the usual kicking and the panty wetters throwing the toys out the pram, but Nova's a white character. He's got blonde hair. Who gives a fuck? Get John in there. Get him playing that character. Give him something meaty to get his teeth into. Give him another chance to really do a big sort of blockbuster mainstream kind of movie. He's got years left. He's only in his 30s, this guy. Maybe even in his 20s. To do all the independent fucking movies he wants. Give this guy another chance. If he wants to do it, that is. I hope he's been cast. Personally. I'd love to see him playing it. The fact we're going down this more cosmic route, it would fit. And I think his humour is perfect for the MCU. He's a funny fucking guy. We've seen that rub off in his performance as Finn in the sequel Star Wars Trilogy. He was one of the best things in The Force Awakens. Everyone came out that movie praising John Boyega. I think he is a perfect fit for the MCU. I'd love to see the guy in the MCU if he wants to do it. If he doesn't, absolutely fair enough. Speaking about perfect fits though, Ewan fucking McGregor, one of the truly great exports of Scotland, of Alba, one of the truly great actors of his generation, nearly turned down Star Wars. Now I feel like we've spoke about this before on this show, on this channel, in some vein. It rings a bell. But he's been out speaking. And incidentally, I was going to go off and speak about another fucking casting thing connected into that. I'll briefly talk about this. I'll go back to you. Speaking about random casting, potential castings for the MCU, this isn't going to happen. Margot Robbie's not going to come to the MCU. She's also in the DC. She's played Harley Quinn. She's a producer, come sort of fucking all singing, all dancing, filmmaking extraordinaire now, Margot. But someone done a lovely bit of concept art. It's her portraying Mystique, of course, most recently played by Jennifer, I'm blanking on her name, Lawrence, I think. Don't hold me to it, it's Jennifer Lawrence, I'm pretty sure. And of course famously phoned in the performance again and again. And was really disappointing by the end. I think it was originally played by another actress. I'm trying to fucking think who the name of the actress is, and I'm blanking on it just now, which is terrible. She did it better. I've got to say, man, I'd love to see her in the MCU as well. It's not going to happen, I know it's not, but getting to see Margot, who is one of the better looking actors on the planet just now, in that costume, would be a fucking standout. So make it so, number one, to quote Patrick Stewart. So obviously fucking Jean-Luc Picard, if that went over your fucking head. I know some people aren't Star Trek fans. I'm not a big Star Trek fan, but it just fit in the moment there for me. Make it so, number one. Make it happen. Bring Margot over to the MCU. She's done enough Harley Quinn. It's boring now. Give her the Mystique role. She's young enough. She's only in a fucking what? I actually think she's older than me now, to be fair, Margot. But she's still young. It's fine. Ewan McGregor. He wasn't sure about joining Star Wars and nearly turned the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi down. This isn't me, he said initially. Quote unquote, at the top of this MovieWeb article. I'm so glad that also wasn't the case. He actually eventually took the role. Who else could have done hello there on an equal pegging to Alec Guinness other than fucking Ewan McGregor? It just wouldn't have been the same. I'm sure there was other names up for this role, but much like Harrison Ford's Han Solo and the aforementioned Guinness's Ben Kenobi, you just can't quite picture anybody else playing the character now. And I'm just glad I live in this universe. If there's a parallel universe out there where Ewan said no, I'm glad I live in this one where he said yes, because fuck me, he was one of the watchable things in that prequel trilogy. And this is what he had to say. He had this to say. He was speaking to Smartless podcast. Smartless. And he had this to say, speaking of where he was in his career prior to Star Wars, just around about the time he got offered the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi by George Lucas, and he had this to say. I really had to think about it, because it came right after that train spotting period. And by that time I was so full of myself, and so you fucking should have been. I was like, I am Danny Boyle's actor. I am fucking urban grunge. I am the oasis of the British movie industry. And then when Star Wars came around, I felt, I don't know if I want to do this. This isn't me. I was so into being this sort of anti-hero. I felt like an indie British actor. I felt like that defined me. And of course he did change his mind, because he subsequently went on to play Ewan McGregor in the movie, and this is what changed his mind. The fact he was a huge fucking Star Wars fan, I presume, would have had a part to play in it. It does to say, in the end, it just got closer and closer. By that time I was just so attached to the idea of it from when I was a kid. To get a chance to be that character and play the younger Alec Guinness was pretty awesome. I was almost grateful to be involved in something that big and to be part of the legend of it, because I loved it. When I was a kid, I loved those movies. I was 6 or 7 when the first one came out. It's in me somehow. That blows my mind that he was 6 or 7. That would put Ewan at roughly 71, 72, 71, 70. He was born, which means he is now 50 fucking 2 years of age. That scares me, man, I'm not going to lie. When you see guys like Ewan starting to go up into that age range, it wasn't that long ago that the likes of fucking... I'm trying to think off the top of my head here, man. Actors who are much older than that now. Alec Baldwin's and guys like that. When I was maybe a teenager, they were that age. Even your Bob De Niro's, they were like 60, late 50s. Not that long ago. Now these guys are getting old, man. Ewan's 52. It's crazy. But it's so interesting to see, for me anyway. I don't know about anyone else, that's why I'm fucking speaking about it. I wouldn't be speaking about it if I didn't find it interesting. To me it's interesting to see just a slight insight into how these actors' brains work when they are being offered roles, even roles as iconic as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Their thought process, where they are, depending on where their career is, how they view themselves, how they will maybe pass up in roles like this. We've heard it famously, the likes of, I think it was fucking Harvey Keitel. Was it Harvey Keitel? It might not have been. I think it was actually, God, what was his name? Why am I blanking on it? Obviously, you had Tom Selleck passed up in the role of Indiana Jones. It went to Harrison Ford. I think you had Dustin Hoffman. And you had man from fucking Brooklyn, Jersey. You know, forgetting his name as well. Famously passed up on the role of Han Solo. There has been roles like this dotted throughout the last 40, 50, 60 years of film where they've been passed up by different actors who could have done something special if it gave us a completely different performance direction for the character. It's went to someone else, and you then can't imagine that fucking equally brilliant actor playing the role. It's so interesting to see how history can turn like that. If Ewan maintained that sort of until the last rebel mindset, I'm grunge, I'm the oasis of British cinema, then he may have passed in this role. We would never have got him in that role, giving us a fantastic performance, almost single-handedly saving the prequel trilogy from its own fucking ruin, this damnation if you like. And we wouldn't have got that brilliant performance more recently between him and Hayden in the Obi-Wan TV show. I'm so glad the guy chose to do the role. I'm a huge fan of Ewan, man. I've been watching this guy for 20 odd years now. He's a brilliant actor. I love the sort of adventurousness of this guy. You speak about John Boyega wanting to go off and test himself, doing more nuanced independent roles. That's what this guy's been doing his entire career. He's played a fucking talking light, obviously Lumiere. He's played fucking Christopher Robin. He's acted to tennis balls, CGI, living, breathing, for that moment anyway, teddy bears. He's played drug addicts from Leaf. And of course, he's played fucking guys like the one and only Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's a very chameleon, adventurous, brilliant actor. And I'm so glad that he finally chose in the end to play that character. It just would not have been the same without Ewan. Alec gave us his own version, of course. It was absolutely fucking wondrous. That's why we got the character. And that's why Ewan ultimately decided to play the character. But Ewan is now part, he's synonymous, it's symbiotic. He's one of the rare actors out there who's played and stepped into huge fucking shoes in an iconic role and made it his own. And now we think of him and Alec Guinness. There's not many other actors out there. Certainly not Alden Ehrenreich. He couldn't do it with obviously Han Solo. So I respect the guy tremendously for shaking these values and choosing to play the character. And I just respect him in general. I think he's a fucking great actor. But look, man, comment down below if you've got any thoughts on that. I don't know if you have. On Ewan rightfully deciding to portray Obi-Wan in the Star Wars prequel trilogy, not rejecting it like Dustin Hoffman, like fucking Peter, I was about to say Peter, it isn't Peter, Christopher Walken, finally remembered the name, before him, like Tom Selleck as Indiana Jones before him as well. All these brilliant actors who passed up on the role of a lifetime, who could have maybe gave us something brilliant, and it went to another excellent actor and they gave us that something brilliant instead. Share your thoughts down below if you've got anything to say about that down below in the comment section. I'm done here. The show is over. You can share your thoughts on all the topics I've touched upon, from fucking Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy through to the Snyderverse being regretted in the upper echelons of the Warner Brother executive, through to the box office on its legs, huge theatre chains like Cineworld potentially going bust. Fucking John Boyega, is he in the MCU? Is he not in the MCU? Is he bluffing? Does he want to do more nuanced independent stuff? And finally, that one I was just speaking about there, Ewan McGregor. Do you want to see Margot Robbie in the MCU as Mystique? Because I certainly fucking do. You can comment down below about that and a whole host of any other things I've touched upon in this show. Down below in the comment section is a place to put it. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon on YouTube to get notifications straight to your eyeballs for future live shows. I'll be back tomorrow with Stephen. Watch along reactions, short reactions to trailers, reviews. We do it fucking all on here. We gab a lot of shite at times as well, but that's all fun and games. You can do the same thing over on Twitch if you're watching us over there. Hit the follow button, notifications button over there for all the aforementioned reasons. Regardless of what you do though, thank you to everybody that was in the comments commenting. We do appreciate it. I appreciate it, I should say. There is no we and I am on my lonesome tonight. And I'm done. Bye bye. That was a shit outro. It's always shite outros here when I'm doing it. I just can't end shows.